or BEE practice at Werksmans. I'd like to welcome you all to the first of a series of webinars which Werksmans will be presenting on BEE. As most of you probably know, BEE is becoming a very important matter for all businesses in South Africa, whether local and foreign, as illustrated by the recent decision of the Competition Commission in the Burger King merger. So it's essential for business to have a sound understanding of both the legal framework and the practical options available for them to maximize their BEE scores. By way of history, the 2015 criminalization of fronting practices and the misrepresentation of BEE status was a game changer. Companies that fall foul of these provisions individuals face 10 years jail, fines of up to 10% of turnover, and a 10-year prohibition on tendering for state business. Also in 2015, minimum requirements were brought in for scores for ownership, skills development, and enterprise and supply development, with the penalty being an automatic downgrade in BEE status. In 2018, however, the YES, or Youth Employment Service Program, was introduced on a carrot rather than a stick approach to incentivize business to support government policy, more importantly, to deal with the crisis of youth unemployment in South Africa. And the YES program is the focus of today's seminar, and we are delighted to have the Chief Executive of YES, Tashmia Ismail-Saville, as a speaker today. She practiced as a dentist and then started 4 businesses, lectured in innovation, management, and inclusive business for over 8 years in South Africa, the Netherlands, and the USA. She's the author of a book, New Markets, New Mindsets, and has worked with multinational firms, multilateral agencies like the World Bank, as well as government. Off the record, she confides that she's a recovering chocolate addict, a condition with which I can sympathize. Our other panelist is Mark Ashton, who's a business development manager of YES for the last 3 years. He's passionate about small business particularly, and his background is a financial journalist. He previously was the managing director of MoneyWeb and the editor of FinWeek magazine. Last but not least is my colleague Nozipho Bengu, who's a director in the Werksmans commercial department and an expert on BEE. We would like this session to be interactive. There is a function where you can pose questions, which we will deal with after the initial presentations. And then without further ado, I want to hand over to my colleague Nozipho Bengu to do an introduction to the YES program. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning, everybody. My presentation will mainly focus on the general principles of YES, and then I'll hand over to Tash and Mark. YES is an impactful initiative which addresses youth unemployment in South Africa by providing 12 months quality work experience for unemployed youth. Just to be clear, it is not a learnership, internship, or apprenticeship. Now, what is the benefit of YES to companies? It rewards companies to participate in the YES program with a move up BE level or levels. And it also provides for BE recognition for YES measured entities and qualification criteria applicable to BE recognition for job creation. Now, what do you need to do in order to participate in the YES program? YES measured entities need to register with the YES NPC, which Mark and Tash will expand on in order to participate in YES. It is important to note that BE recognition is only awarded to measured entities that have been registered with the YES NPC. Now, YES measured entities are required to maintain or improve the previous BE status levels and performance against the targets achieved in the overall BE scorecard obtained in the year prior to participating in YES. Companies that can, or entities that can participate: generic entities with total revenue of 50 million per annum or above must achieve at least 40% subminimum under each of the priority elements, namely ownership, skills development, and enterprise development, or an average of 50% across all 3 priority elements. This, once again, will be dealt in details by Tash and Mark. QSEs with annual turnover of between 10 and 50 million must achieve at least 40% in 2 of the priority elements, provided ownership is one of the 2 elements, or alternatively achieve an average score of 40% across 2 of the priority elements. Now, who is eligible to benefit from the YES initiative? BEE recognition under the YES initiative applies to creation of jobs for eligible employees who meet the below criteria. They must be unemployed, must be between the ages of 18 to 35, and also meet the definition of Black people as defined in the Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment Act. At this stage, I'll hand over to Tash.
Thank you so much, Nazipo. Peter, I'm having absolutely no luck with my addiction. But it's a good one as far as addictions go, I must say. So thank you so much for having us on this panel. We've been going at YES operationally for 129 weeks now. We will show some impact slides in terms of the numbers. But why we're so grateful for this forum is we find, yes, we look at this BEE landscape and all the elements, and there is so much complexity. You almost need to have a master's to be able to navigate your way through the BEE scorecard and to get yourself to a level 1. But if you look at the design of YES, our team constantly, I mean, yes, we are a little biased, but we do marvel at how simple YES is to institute in an organization. We really have tried in our work with the DTIC to create a set of steps that are really simple to apply. And today we've seen, well over 600 companies achieve these BEE levels up on their scorecard. Now, we're still surprised in market, and we think this is because people imagine BEE has to be complex. And what we've noticed is a lot of rules are actually invented around YES that aren't real. Very often, companies still come to us and say, oh, we don't do YES because you've got to have Black ownership. Actually, no. You can have 0 Black ownership and you can still participate in the program. Some say, oh, we have never been rated before. This is the first time we're going to be rated. We can't do YES. No, you're able to do YES in your very first year of being rated. So there's some very exciting, hopefully, insights that you will see that make the program a lot simpler for you. Give me 1 second, please. Apologies, I hope you can't hear the drilling. This is exactly how it goes. There's absolute silence. You start the webinar and someone upstairs decides to draw. So if I've hopefully got control of the slide deck now. And actually, I don't have control, guys. It's not maneuvering. I think you have to pass control over to me. Can I just share from my side? Is that going to be okay? Because this doesn't seem to be...
No problem, Tash. You're welcome to do that.
Lovely. Thank you, guys. The host has to enable me. Participant sharing is still not enabled. Oh, there we go. And how is that? Can everybody see my screen? Wonderful. Thanks, Mark. So the entire YES program has been designed around a big macroeconomic problem that we faced, probably one of our country's largest issues, which is the massive unemployment rate, particularly youth unemployment, which is not just the highest in the world, it's the highest by a country mile. When the ratings agencies look at South Africa and look at their ratings, this is one of the biggest elements that they look at. What is your plan around youth employment? Because it really is a marker of risk in a country. So what we're going to be discussing with you today is, initially we'll just share a few slides that talk to you about the impact of the program, just so you can understand that we are well into it. In these 129 weeks, we've shown massive impact. We'll show you some of our numbers, and you'll see that this is a very credible program to be able to join. We'll touch on what YES costs. Again, this is one of the myths out there, that YES is an expensive program. If you compare the cost of getting your level up to SED or ED, hopefully what we'll show you today is that it's a very cost-effective program. We'll give you some of the mechanics on how you register, how YES works, how we have the impact and how companies move up their scorecard. We'll talk a little bit to YES hubs. Many of our clients are not just investing in YES on the BEE level up with the youth jobs, but they're also investing ED and SED into our YES hubs for a series of very impactful programs. So what is YES? Just to summarize, we're about getting youth a 12-month work experience. And we want to break the cycle. Earlier, we showed you this quote, which is something we get from youth all the time. I can't get a job without experience, and I can't get experience without a job. So they're trapped in this space where they're never given a chance to show their potentials, to build a CV and reference letter. And by giving young people this opportunity to work for a year, we de-risk them. They come out of this year with a CV and a reference letter that is able to show their next employer that they're capable. Now, this is not just thumbsuck and hoping that this is what happens. There is research in many countries across the world that shows that a CV and a reference letter, so it's empirical evidence, that a CV and reference letter triples the likelihood of a callback within a callback for a job interview, and for a woman within 3 months of job search, it doubles the likelihood of a job. And so we use, as Peter mentioned, this is a carrot model where we are incentivizing companies with a BE level up to allow as many young people as possible to move through that first year of work experience, break them into the labor market, break them into the world of work, where they're able to show employers exactly what they're able to do. And we get phone calls, you know, within the first 3 months of our cohort, starting from managers across the country, to say, wow, we have uncovered some absolute gems in this cohort that we are going to be investing in, and we're going to keep them on board. So this first cohort with YES also allows you to build a talent pipeline, because it's a 1-year fixed term contract. What you're able to do is test a large cohort and actually select and recruit who you want to do deeper investments in. And at the same time, while you're building this talent pipeline, you're also able to move up on the scorecard. And then you can have massive social impact. If you don't want to take these youth into your own business, what we'll show you later in this presentation is that we've got a turnkey solution for you, where you can place them in a range of YES partners across the country, where young people can still get that work experience and have social impact in healthcare, sustainable climate change programs, in education, and in digital access. So here are some of those impact slides, which I promised. We are on 56,161 youth work experiences created. This has been achieved with 1,540 partner company signups. So if you haven't joined and signed up to YES yet, you will be in amazing company. These partner signups are not just year 1. We've got companies that have come back for year 3 and 4 on the program. So, you know, this retention of our clients and this repeat business hopefully gives you an indicator that the program is really working for many companies. And there really is no excuse. You should just sign up today and join this really brilliant group of companies that are having such impact because they're working together in a collaborative fashion on a platform where their investments aren't fractured across a variety of places, but by working with this many other partner companies, we're able to have this impact of over 56,000 jobs. Mark will tell you that our pipeline shows we're going to hit 60,000 work experiences very shortly, probably in the next 2 weeks. And what this does is it's put 3.2 billion in salaries from the private sector into youth wallets. So this is a massive number. If you look at the South African economy, which has shed jobs over the last decade, this number of 3.2 billion from these companies is really bucking the trend. It is a little miracle in a sea of dysfunction in the employment space. And so by joining this partnership, this collaboration, you can be part of this amplified impact that you see the YES program having. What's been very exciting for us is that in this project, what we've been doing is surveying our alumni. The surveys of our alumni have been much more powerful than trying to go back to companies to look at absorption rates, because we're able to pick up if they're getting a job post-YES also. And we are showing absorption rates. We've now got about 32,000 alumni. We're showing absorption rates in our samples of over 42%, which is incredibly encouraging given the economic circumstance. Look, this number changes from week to week, right? Because we're constantly phoning and updating it. But we're seeing between 35 and 42% absorption. Now, if you imagine in a pandemic environment that this many youth are getting out of our samples, are getting jobs, it tells us that that 1 year of work experience, the CV and the reference letter, is working to set these youth up for an increased chance of a job post-YES. But the main thrust of the YES program is to get as many young people into that first opportunity as possible. We're not here to boil the ocean. We cannot drive economic growth and ensure, permanent employment for all of these youth, but we can get their foot in the door with your assistance. We've got well over 500 companies that have achieved their BEE levels up. And what's also very exciting is the forays we are making into digital and technology access. Every YES youth, as part of the package that you pay for, gets a smartphone. The smartphone has 0 rated apps, so they're not paying for any data. And we have logged on our training app 8.9 million learning minutes for these young people. And these 8.9 million learning minutes are behavioral learning in workplace experience, financial inclusion, personal financial management. So really developing these youth holistically for the world of work that this 1 year opens up. This is just a drop, a little lens into some of the companies, the partner signups that we have. You will recognize many of the names on this, but what's exciting for us is today, not only have we signed up all of the large multinationals and listed companies, but we also have off the radar medium and small sized companies that have joined the program. So across the economy, we're seeing an impact where youth are being employed into these opportunities. We've now also got track record. We have beautiful testimonials. Here you can see VWSA. YES initiative is one of the most hopeful, impactful, and necessary interventions in our country. We're proud to be partners. VW are coming back for their 3rd year. Nedbank starting their 2nd year program. While the youth unemployment stats in our country may be staggering and there are many challenges, YES reminds us these challenges are not insurmountable. And this is because these executives, like our team, are constantly getting feedback from young people in communities, in townships, in rural communities, and in urban centers, where they feed back to us about how life-changing this work experience has been at a household level and at a community level. Companies that join YES, as I mentioned in the opening, are not just joining YES for this placement of YES youth. We have companies investing in enterprise development, in skills development, in socioeconomic development, and sometimes we just give PBO 18A certificates out for donations. And we invest these in special projects that allow for 4IR access. So some of the enterprise development initiatives are, for example, hydroponics farming, where youth from communities are introduced to technology-rich farming with high yield and productivity. We've got 3D printer labs where young people are printing 3D parts. We've got cut, make, trim textile operations where the young people are involved in learning skills in textile manufacture and sanitary pad production. So there's a whole range of special projects that happen in township communities that companies are also investing in. Now the mechanics. And this is where a lot of people, before they get involved in, okay, the impact, etc., just tell me how this works, tell me what it's going to cost. And so if we can move into that section of the presentation. You've got to start out with a few key metrics. Our website has a beautifully designed calculator where you can input the key metrics on what is my head count, what is my turnover, what is my net profit after tax. If you put these key metrics into our calculator, in the background, the calculator will do the calculation that you see on your screen. It's going to take 1.5% of your net profit after tax on South African operations. It will divide this by 55,000 to get your yes target number. It will then compare that yes target number to what 1.5% of your head count is, and it will also compare it against a table that sits in the Gazette for companies that are such a low impact number that we've got to have a safety net in terms of them creating some work opportunities to receive the BEE level up. But our calculator will do that comparison across these three formulas for you, and it will choose the highest of the three. In most instances, it's the 1.5% of impact over 55,000 that generates the highest target number, unless you're a really high headcount company. Say this calculator says to you, you need to create 120 work opportunities for young people. If we can get the affidavit of employment, the contract of employment, the youth's ID that they're between 18 and 35, and they're a Black youth, and this evidence is put before your verification agency together with your yes certificate, you will then receive a level up on your BEE scorecard. A critical piece of information for you is when you go for verification in year one, even if you have just joined the YES initiative a few days before your financial year end and started those youth working or contracted before, you can still claim that BEE level up in your very first verification, provided you registered and got those youth on board before your financial year end. So you don't need to show a full year of work experience for those youth or 8 months. This rule changes in year 2. By verification, you do need to show 8 months of work experience. But very important, if you want to start YES today, at your very next verification, you will be able to achieve that BEE level up, or even 2 BEE levels up if you double your target. So if the calculator said you need to do 120 youth, and you put those 120 youth into work, either in your company or via one of our partners with a turnkey solution, you will be able to move up 1 or 2 levels on your scorecard immediately. If you go to 240, it will be 2 levels up. If you do 1.5 times your target, you can get a level up in 3 points. I hope that's clear, and I'm sure at the Q&A there may be questions on this, and we can pull the slide up again. Our team will also be available to help you with your calculations if you require that. So the myth around YES being expensive. Enterprise and supply development require 1% of net profit after tax for 5 points. Socioeconomic development requires 1% of impact for 5 points. With YES, if you are moving from level 8 to level 7 or level 7 to level 6, about 1% of impact can get you 15 points. And if you're moving from a level 3 to a level 4 to level 3, and that's a 10-point difference, your YES level up gets you the 10 points. And then, of course, for the other levels, whatever your target is will get you the 5 points to move to your level. So I hope this makes it very clear that YES, in comparison to other BEE initiatives, is certainly not a more expensive choice. And just another way to look at this data, if this makes it clearer, 1% of impact, 5 points on ESD, 1% of impact, 5 points on SED. If you are moving from a level 4 to a level 3, your yes investment gets you 10 points. If you're moving from a level 8 to 7 or 7 to 6, your impact investment will get you 15 points. And if you're moving 2 levels up with 2% of impact, you can get 20 points. And of course, this is even bigger for companies who are moving from a level 8 to a level 7 and a level 7 to a level 6. There, with 2 levels, you can get 30 points. So I hope this shows you how powerful this can be as a tool on your scorecard to really move you into levels that weren't possible before for certain companies where, for example, you're a multinational and local ownership is just not going to be possible. The YES initiative allows you to move into those brackets. In terms of our costing, the YES operational costs are they're about 3% of the total cost of the program, including salaries. So from an admin perspective, we run a very, very lean machine in terms of delivering these jobs across the country. If you're a small business and with less than 10 million, your registration is free. If you have a turnover equal to 10 million but less than 50, your registration for the program is 2.5. And then, of course, you can see in the other brackets, this goes up. The larger the company's turnover is, to 10, 15, and of course, the most expensive registration is the 20,000 for those with over 200 million in turnover. So the registration fee just allows us to log you into the system, to let us know that you're serious about creating these jobs. And it's a very quick process. If you go to our website and you go to any of the registration buttons that are available on all the pages, you will sign into our company portal. You'll be able to work out your target in there, and you'll be able to generate an invoice to be able to register for the program. The entire program, there's some clients we don't have any contact with. The entire process is digitized, really seamless and easy to work through the digital platforms. If you get stuck at any point, there are phone numbers on our website and email addresses that you can contact us, and we'll over the phone help you through it. But there are a large number of companies that go through this entire process in our portal, where we maybe need 1 or 2 phone calls with them, and the rest is all very self-explanatory. Now, for every YES youth that we place, there's a package that comes with this. This is a monitoring and evaluation package. This is a package that helps us get the entire BEE verification engine behind you. So when you get to verification, all of the stuff you need is in the system. You can log into your portal, download your certificate of registration with YES. All your youth records will be stored in the uploader. If the verification agency wants to audit you, they can get access to this portal, select the youth that they want to audit and check on. And what you're paying for per youth in terms of this placement fee allows us to build this whole engine that sits behind the BEE verification and allows us to monitor and evaluate, because the Gazette requires that YES does a monitoring and evaluation function. So we make sure that youth are actually being developed in these programs, and there's some kind of consistency in their experience, and we're not getting youth being used as pawns in a BEE game. And how we're able to do this monitoring and evaluation, you can imagine with 60,000 youth across the entire country, the only way is through a digital channel. And so our YES youth have these smartphones where we monitor and evaluate and train them through the 2 YES apps that sit on their phone, and they're baked into the phone. So when youth receive those phones, they can go straight into those apps. Now, what does this cost? If you're a large company with an impact equal to or greater than 12 million, it'll cost you 5,000 Rand per youth, which is about 417 per month. This includes the entire smartphone package. In year 2 of the program, you get a discounted 4,000 Rand per youth. If you're a company with impact less than 4 million, but turnover equal to or greater than 50 million, you get this at 3,000. This is, I won't go into the detail of this. This is available on our website. Anybody that wants a copy of this presentation, we will forward this to you in PDF, so you'll have all these numbers in front of you. So 5,000 if you're a large company in year 1, but 4,000 in your second year. This includes the whole smartphone package. And then we do have companies that do this not for BEE, and then the package cost gets reduced to 3,000. So hopefully that is clear in terms of the yes costs. And of course, if you are NPAT less than 4 million, but turnover greater than 50 million, or NPAT equal to or greater than 4 million, but less than 12 million, that 3,000 Rand package is just 250 Rand a month. So I hope you can see that these costs are really conservative and built on frugal principles. Now, this is a very exciting model here, where YES has built a beautiful stable of partners in the most far-flung communities, Northern Cape, rural Mpumalanga, rural KwaZulu-Natal, and in urban centers in townships. We have a beautiful set of NGO partners that offer our YES clients a turnkey solution, where we showed you the placement packages before, 5,000, 3,000, 1,700. Here, you'd pay 9,700 per youth, but what it means is the entire process, the recruitment, the management, the monitoring, the year-long work experience, the training in that work experience is all completely managed by one of our partners. And what's beautiful here is, in terms of impact, is you're not just getting a youth into a job, but our partners are in healthcare, education, technology, sustainability models, green energy. There's a whole lot of very important social programs that youth can be placed in. So you get a double impact of getting someone a job, but you also have this impact on communities through healthcare or digital access and digital knowledge building, or sustainability in the green economy, by ensuring that these programs have youth that are being trained and built to work in these communities and drive those impacts. So this is our turnkey host placement package. And more on that, as a company, you have 3 options. You can place youth inside your own business if you've got the space for them, if you want to build a talent pipeline internally. We've got companies like ShopRite Checkers coming into YES for program 4, thousands and thousands of youth, and they've placed them inside of their own operations. And then we have other companies like Nedbank that utilize our partners and place youth across the country in a range of opportunities. So you can host inside, you can host at a partner, or you can host youth at our hubs in some of the programs there. And these are just some lovely faces to make it real, to show these young people. We've got the top right picture is all the way up in Mpumalanga at the top of the country, and the bottom left picture was youth placed at the Uitenhage plant of VW. So you can see there's a tremendous range of where and how we're able to place young people in YES. And this is just to reiterate that whatever your corporate strategy, we have partners where we can place into jobs that can feed back strategically into what you're trying to achieve. We can place youth in digital jobs, healthcare, finance, education, manufacturing, marketing, and agriculture. So there really is a way to ensure that the YES program is very aligned to what you are trying to achieve as an organization. And these are just, again, the pictures make it very real, and I think builds that connection and empathy. We don't just want this to be about the BEE and the points. We want you to really connect and feel the impact and see the faces of these young people whose lives get transformed. And they really do. I mean, they write to us, they call us up, we see where they go. Please, I encourage you to watch on Showmax, The Great Reset. We've done a series of documentaries with MultiChoice where cameras have gone into communities that have been impacted by YES jobs. And you see that unlocking a job for a young person just unlocks so much more for a community. So these are youth with Youth Health Africa that are in a nutrition fortifying program. But Youth Health Africa also do jobs in HIV, TB, and now with COVID, we've got youth involved in some of those projects. So they're the youth arm of the Aurum Institute. This is a global organization, global researchers sitting behind this, and they work with entry-level healthcare workers with YES as counselors, HIV self-screeners, researchers, filing clerks, data capturing. You saw there the nutrition program as well. Conservation South Africa, we can share a link after this of the amazing work that YES Youth are doing in Namaqualand, in a biodiversity hotspot, where our YES Youth have been trained to work with emerging farmers on helping them understand what type of livestock they need to breed, how they plant speckworm, how they're preventing the degradation of the environment, but at the same time building local incomes. Truly inspiring projects that our youth are involved in at community level that will have impacts for many, many years to come. So Conservation South Africa, again, a global organization with really well thought through local programs in much needed communities that are off the map and where no one else is really going in to protect some of that biodiversity and environment. So hopefully that gives you just a taste of some of the really beautiful projects that YES is involved in. And I'll stop there because I'm sure we will have questions on how YES works, and very happy to answer those with Mark, who's on the call.
Thank you very much, Tash. It's really, I think this program is such a great example of government and private sector working together to tackle a really national crisis, because I think it is a crisis. And I think, as you mentioned earlier, the strength is it's the simplicity. Because I think for a lot of, and as an old corporate lawyer, I always tell my clients, keep it simple unless there's a commercial advantage to making it complicated. And I think a lot of where business people and lawyers struggle with BEE is how to interpret the code, how to apply it in practice. So there's an interpretational issue where the lawyers get involved, and there's a practical implementation. And one of the issues I think that I've come across is that a lot of the targets in the BEE codes are based on net profit after tax. Now, at the beginning of the financial year, a company says, okay, we want to have our strategy, a long-term strategy, but for each year, then they've got to plan to do the spend during that financial year. And I think that's one of the problems, particularly for enterprise and supply development, where there is now this automatic downgrade if you don't meet the minimum target. But basing the target on profit implies that you can take your crystal ball out and say, okay, we're going to make a profit this year. And the COVID crisis aside, I mean, it's very difficult for a business sometimes to, I mean, I might do educated guesses, but I think the YES program has got an approach which helps alleviate that problem of the crystal ball gazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think maybe, Peter, if I can just build on what you, just for clarification for the audience there, I think the important thing around YES, and it's one of the common areas that people get wrong, is which numbers they need to use for the calculation of the YES target. So when you're looking, and as I've seen as one of the questions that's come through on the Q&A facility, so I'll just confirm it here as well. It is your historical 3-year net profit after tax. It is your revenue at the end of your last measurement period, and it is your headcount, which is anybody you've reported for skills purposes across your total headcount. And you can plug those numbers in. There's no moving target. It is what it is, and we will, and it'll spit out an answer for you from a calculation perspective. So nice and simple. It's one of the really easy incentives out there, and it is incredibly transparent. You know what you're in for from the word go.
Mark, I see that there was a question in the Q&A on how do you prove employees have been working for the 8 months. Perhaps we can talk to the verification agency would want to see the employment contracts and when the start date on that employment contract was, and then they'll look at the date that you're doing your verification. They may ask to see pay slips for those months. Or those 8 months, and that would also be evidence that youth have been working for 8 months.
And then same as you would on a learnership, there'll be a typical sampling exercise where they will ask you to, where they'll conduct some interviews with, with the youth that are on the program. And it's important to ensure, YES always talks about a quality work experience. We've had instances where verification agencies have caught out organizations either on learnerships or on work experience programs where they are not delivering a work experience. They tell the youth, work at home, get your salary. We're simply doing this for BE recognition. We need to caution people, any kind of activity like that will end up being caught out through the sampling process, and rather invest in the program. You'll get higher returns, both from BE perspective, but also the quality of the youth coming through the initiative. There was a question here as well around the 8-month mark and the 8-month rule. So I'm just going to quickly clarify it for you. So the nice thing about YES is incredibly flexible from a incentive perspective. Youth in your first year can be registered at any point inside your measurement period. So if you are in the last week of you got a December year end and you want to register your youth in the last week of the measurement period, you can do that. You can get them contracted and you can get them through. And if you get verified the following week, your program will count as being part of that measurement period. The second year of participation is 8 months by verification. So you may end up, and this is important, is if you decide to leave your program late into your measurement period and then want to participate for a second year, you could end up in a situation where you have overlapping cohorts. So rather plan in advance, get your first year cohort on, then run your second year cohort so you don't end up in a situation where there is an overlap.
Mark, there's a question around permanent, how absorption is claimed. So unfortunately, another 12-month contract will not count as evidence of absorption. You do need a permanent contract. What the DTIC have also agreed is that evidence of an entrepreneurship path can also be taken as absorption. So if you can show an enterprise development investment in that young person, business plan, subsidy registration, ED grant, that can also qualify as absorption.
Tash, just also another question. How do you demonstrate absorption? Do you need to evidence a permanent contract?
I thought I just answered that. Yes, it's a permanent contract, yeah, or it's an entrepreneurship opportunity that you can show evidence that you funded or supported.
Okay.
So if I can just maybe build on that as well, it's important you can't be absorbed into a learnership and you can't be absorbed into short-term, kind of rolling short-term contracts. I know that the kind of world of work is changing, but for the purposes of verification, they still require a permanent employment contract. And one of the other questions that also regularly comes up is, can somebody be issued a permanent employment contract before the end of their 12-month work experience? Absolutely. You want to be able to see once a youth gets a little bit of work experience, you can very quickly work out whether they are an asset to your business. Your competitors might see them and say, these youth have suddenly got 6 months industry experience. You're not stuck in this process of having to employ somebody on the national minimum wage and simply paying them for that work experience and hoping that they don't drop off. You can certainly pay them more than national minimum wage. I think the Gauteng average is about 4,800 at the moment. We've seen people earning 16,000, 20,000 Rand as software developers on a YES program. And I think, Tash has spoken about the types of work opportunities that are created. It's important to not see, yes, it's a first work experience, but that doesn't mean it has to be menial work experience. It can be quality work experience. You look at the work that the Youth Health Africa guys are doing, the work that some of the technical programs that are running. There are lots of very cool jobs that are being created here. And I think it's a mind shift. People often think that, I'm going to participate in a YES program, so I'm going to take a whole lot of entry-level people onto my headcount or staff. The reality is that you don't have to just simply treat this as an entry-level program. This is a program that should grow with your workforce as well. And then just one other question that I know we get asked quite a lot, and it's actually something that people miss quite regularly. In terms of that implementation partner model, one of the reasons it's particularly popular with the multinationals that operate in South Africa is that they don't have to, your Yes Youth don't actually have to appear as an employee of your business, and they don't have to appear on your payroll. So there is a contracting framework, and the reason for that being, one, you may have a headcount freeze in South Africa, you might have a very strong labor union inside of your business, you may have a whole lot of reasons why you cannot demonstrate an expansion of your headcount. It could be a skills-related issue. Remember, you can put youth onto another organization's payroll and contracting framework, and be bound to them by a tri-party agreement, which will then say to them that these form part of my Yes cohort, and that tri-party agreement will be used as part of your evidence for your verification process. And it's a very popular structure that that a lot of the organizations that use the implementation partners work with quite a lot there.
Maybe I can just speak a little bit more to that, Mark. So if you don't want youth on your payroll, which a lot of companies want to avoid having, because those cohorts are quite big and they can mess up your ratios, and they can mess up, you know, what you're doing on your skills front. Yes has a standardized set of contracts that we've built for our companies that the DTIC are happy with. And those standardized contracts, so you're not going to have to enter into a whole lot of costs on legal fees to be able to show this. We've got these templates, and if you choose to use a partner and put the youth on that partner's payroll, we have accepted standardized templates that will enable that to happen.
There's a question here about previously unemployed, or the definition of a Yes Youth. The definition of a Yes Youth is 18 through to 35, Black as defined by the B-BBEE codes. And importantly, it is unemployed at time of contracting. So that doesn't mean that they are unemployed or have never been employed. You can, there are a couple of ways to approach that. But long story short is that that you can, if they're unemployed at the time of contracting, Black as defined by the codes, 18 through to 35, they will qualify as Yes Youth. And then if you are looking to claim the employment tax incentive, it'll be 18 through to 29.
And there's also an affidavit that we have that's available. You can put together an affidavit that a youth signs to say at the time of signing this contract, they were unemployed. And so that's a piece of data that we also suggest you collect. There's a table on our website where there's a SANAS list of all of the documents that you should put together, youth-based documents, company-based documents, and a BE affidavit is one of those. Mark, there's also a question here around seasonal employment. So you want to provide youth with a 12-month employment contract, but you can have part-time employment contracts as long as they map back to Department of Labor for your sectoral determination of what is the minimum number of hours on a part-time employment contract. So part-time would work, full-time would work as long as it's 12 months. Seasonal might be more difficult to work into a 12-month contract, unfortunately.
Question here, whether or not we can do integrated solutions where some are hosted internally and some are hosted externally. Absolutely, it's a common request. Organizations have often identified people that they want to put into their talent pipeline internally. We certainly do that, and then we accommodate through the Yes implementation partners through the external host placement model, and happy to discuss that.
And also, you don't have to pay them the same. So let's give you an example to make this very clear. Let's take Nedbank as an example. Nedbank has taken on youth with higher skills levels, more commonly grads, into their head office in Sandton. And those youth get paid on the Nedbank payroll a much higher salary. And then Nedbank has got other youth in their cohorts that are hosted at NGOs in the green economy, in KwaZulu-Natal, where those youth are hosted on those partners' payrolls at more entry-level salaries, which is more appropriate for the levels of skills, the type of work they're doing, and the communities that work is being done in. So you can split that out in a variety of ways. We have companies that have got youth at 3 different partners. They've got quite a big cohort and they want to have impact in a variety of spaces. So they'll have them at 3 partners and take a specific number into their own business as well.
There's a question about if you have an existing apprenticeship or internship program and partner with YES, can you then recruit unemployed youth into the apprentice internship as part of the YES program? This is a personal bugbear of ours. I think it's important that you define where these YES youth are going to be deployed. Often we see organizations who are trying to hedge their bets between internships, learnerships, work experience programs, etc. Remember, it's important. YES is a separate element on the scorecard. Those that fall under your skills element that you're claiming for skills will fall under skills. YES is additive to your scorecard. But also I think it's important just from a management of the youth perspective is you need to define what that work experience is going to be and how that's going to play out. And I think where we see the organizations that have high levels of drop off is when they have not defined the role that these youth are going to play in their 12-month work experience. So if you're clear in that aspect, but it's important that you don't double dip in terms of your other elements on the scorecard.
And maybe, Mark, what's very important is to go back to the history around the internships and the learnerships and apprenticeships versus YES. When YES was created as part of the CEO initiative, which was between business, government, and labor to work on special projects that would have this national macroeconomic impact, if YES was just going to be another learnership or apprenticeship, we wouldn't get over and above. The fear from the policymakers and the task team that was building YES was that all people would do was displace current learnership numbers with YES numbers. And YES is an over and above program. Yes, you're doing learnerships. Yes, you're doing apprenticeships, but we're not going to make a difference in the national number around employment if we don't have something additive. So we want companies to carry on with their learnerships and apprenticeships. And YES is over and above that so that we can see an actual difference in the number of those employed in the country. So there's a reason that the Gazette is very specific. It's in legislation. The Gazette is specific that YES is not a learnership, apprenticeship, or internship. Yeah. So this is not a rule we've just made up. It's got a history that is based on the impact that we want to have.
Tash. My one question is, obviously one of the principles for YES measured entities is that they need to maintain the previous BBEE status level before participating in the YES program. What happens if you can't maintain your status level? What can you do in order to participate in the program?
So we've had quite a few companies that have written a motivation letter to the DTIC. If you look at the practice note, and you look at the FAQs, DTIC approved FAQs, you will find a list of conditions that will be acceptable as reasons for not being able to maintain. And if you write a motivation letter, which the team can assist with, we send that to the DTIC and you can get a special sign-off that accepts why you couldn't maintain that level. So there is a channel and a process for companies that are unable to do that. Mark, do you want to, I mean, how many have we had approved? Almost all that have gone through, eh?
Yeah, there's been quite a lot. Remembering on top of that, there were a number of COVID-related dispensations that were achieved. So, you know, we spoke about the 8-month rule and obviously with COVID, there was a lot of disruption and uncertainty around recruitment and starting on it. So, I mean, there are a couple of things. You could, for instance, have sectoral changes in your codes. You could lose black ownership in your business. You could lose a major black supplier. and what's really great about YES, and I think this is one of the things that is, government often comes in for a lot of criticism about legislation and not creating an environment in which the business can thrive. But the reality is we've actually enjoyed a very good working relationship with the DTIC as a stakeholder. And, they will very often look at a situation, look at it on merit. We can round robin and say, let's say, what are we actually trying to achieve here? We're trying to create work experience and work opportunities in South Africa. The spirit and the intent is there. We're more than happy to move ahead with it. And I think that's one of the real success stories that doesn't really get told a lot, is just how accommodative the DTIC has been around this policy and continues to be around opportunities.
Thank you.
There's a question from Adriani. Can you claim part of YES costs and skills development on scorecard, on overall skills spend, not on learnership headcount target? So in terms of the double dipping, the rules around double dipping, if you are spending money on your YES cohort on their salaries, that will give you the BE level up on your scorecard. However, you can use up to 50% of your skills spend on training YES youth. So if you just flip around what you've asked, Adriani, your YES salary spend and your YES placement fees cannot be claimed anywhere else on the scorecard because you're getting the level up for it. It would be considered double dipping if you tried to claim those fees in other parts of the scorecard, because your benefit is the level up. However, in addition to the YES salaries and fees to get those youth into work, if you spend money on training those YES youth on programs in the informal part of your scorecard, FNG, that you can claim against skill spend. I hope that's clear.
And the other question, Tash and Mark, specialized entities and public entities, can they participate in the YES program?
Happy to answer that one. And in fact, it's one of the areas that we really want to try and work very closely with. Is YES is actually super attractive for a specialized entity because your number is provided you're not declaring any form of profit. The specialized entity gets a target of 50, a maximum of 15 youth. And to move a full level on your BEE scorecard to employ 15 youth is incredibly attractive. We're having a lot of interesting discussions. We've got a very nice program that currently runs with the CSIR, who are going into their third year of participation. And they've done some fun things, they've done some capacitating of schools with some of their youth through one of the implementation partners, but they've also done their internal program and been capacitating different business units. So there's lots of fun ways to use your YES youth to capacitate your operation. And we really think that a lot of the specialized entities miss out on YES, and it's a pity, and we'd love to be able to engage more of them around this.
I've got a question. Do you have a facility that helps business identify appropriate youth? Or I think that might be a practical challenge for some businesses, particularly maybe small and medium-sized businesses.
We've had a lovely development. We did have a package, Peter, that allowed companies to access our database. They would give us a little matrix of the types of skills and geographies that they were looking for, and we would then do a search and pull those. But what has replaced this, which is very exciting, is YES's part in the Presidential Youth Employment Program, where a beautiful platform, you would have heard the President announcing this on Youth Day, youth.mobi, and young people, we've merged our database of young people into this database. It's a large database that allows you to go onto the platform, post jobs, and do a matching exercise to a whole lot of youth geographically and skills-wise. We are working on some other programs with the World Bank that allow for a deeper matching around youth skills and potentials by building a profile for them through a set of games. But at the moment already, this SA-Youth.mobi is a great leap forward in helping companies identify and select youth from a national database.
I mean, you've been going now for, I think, almost 3 years. You got, I mean, do you have any views as to, are you happy with the way things are? Do you want amendments to the codes? I know that might be a difficult question, but I mean, I think that you know, every strategy needs to be stress tested. You've been operating for 3 years. I think you've, I mean, from what I've seen and heard today and read previously as well, you've done an amazing job. I think it's a wonderful government and private sector working together. The use of technology, I think, has been cutting edge, the digital approach. But are there any, looking in your crystal ball, are there any, well, what's the future for YES going forward?
Yes, I think it's important for everybody to understand we're not sitting still. We engage the DTI on a regular basis, taking a lot of feedback from companies into the DTIC. This is how we were actually able to create the DTIC approved list of FAQs. Companies were saying to us, these are things we struggle with, these are things we have questions on. And so we worked with them on getting them to approve that list of FAQs. So that work keeps happening. What we are trying to push through at the moment, the first one is we see SMEs, and I saw one of the participants asked about SME participation in the program. From a YES fee perspective, we don't charge very small businesses a registration fee. There's a completely subsidized rate on the youth placement. But what we think will improve SME participation, because we know that the most jobs need to come from SMEs nationally. So we're asking the DTIC to allow for YES participation to happen via affidavit. The verification to happen via affidavit rather than making them go via the QSE scorecard route. And we think that reduction in red tape and reducing the risk of going through losing their natural level 4 status through the scorecard will go a long way in encouraging that. And we're also trying to work on benefits for level 1 companies, because these are companies that can generate large amounts of work experiences. But at the moment, if the benefit is a BE level up, you can see that that's very limited for the large companies. So those at level 1 that have participated in the program are using models where they're putting it under the skills scorecard or enterprise and supplier development, but we're not getting the same numbers. So that, you know, we've been quite creative in how level 1 companies can invest in jobs. But ideally, we want to see a scorecard benefit for that large target number. So those are just some of the elements that we're working on. You know, I think a big one that we got through was allowing absorption to be an entrepreneurship opportunity, or an entrepreneurship opportunity to be recognized as absorption. You can see how that can have really lasting impacts in market. So the DTIC, like Mark says, have been really flexible in thinking about how to improve the impacts of YES, but it's a work in progress.
Thank you. I know that we have got to the end of our session. I'm not sure, Nazeep, are there any other outstanding questions? Because I mean, if there are outstanding questions, I'm enjoying this debate, because I mean, this is what's great. Even though we're doing it via Zoom, I think these sort of Q&As shows that the audience is interested in interacting with us. So if there are any outstanding questions, I'm quite happy to go on.
Just one other question, Tash. Now, how do you ensure that the measured entities, YES measured entities, the employees that are employed get quality work experience? I know you've touched on this when you were presenting your part of the presentation, but can you just touch up on that again? Just how you ensure that the entities get ensure that they get quality work experience. I mean.
Right. So there are two points I'd like to make here. The first one is, you know, we are placing through the program youth that don't have a matric certificate, who are high school dropouts, and this is their first work opportunity ever. A quality work experience for that young person entails the learnings that come from learning the discipline of waking up every morning, of arriving at work, of learning new skills, of being in a place of employment and the rules of the game around what work means. And then we have some youth that Mark has mentioned that are placed in very sophisticated talent pipelines of tech companies, for example. And there the work experience is going to be very deep training over the 12 months. So a quality work experience is as long as there is learning and growth happening through the year. And that is going to be different. So quality work experience is, have you moved over the year to a place that you weren't at the beginning? The second mechanism is through our smartphone. One of the apps on the smartphone has got a survey tool. And the survey tool asks youth questions through a baseline and an end line, and through a weekly, which is actually every 2 weeks, and a monthly, that looks behaviorally at what is happening to a youth over that period of time. We have another application which goes to supervisors. We're obviously not at 100% engagement on these. Driving engagement through these apps and monitoring tools is a work in progress, and driving adoption is a work in progress. Every supervisor also has an app, and they've got to log 4 times in the year the progress of that youth over the year. And by triangulating this data from the training app, where we've delivered, what is the number, Mark? 8.9 million learning minutes. Yep. So we're able to show companies who in their youth cohort have done the highest number of minutes and hours of learning. We pull data from the surveys, and we pull data from the supervisor apps, and we build that into a CV and reference letter. And that body, that portfolio of evidence, also gives you an indication of the learning and growth of the youth over that year.
If I can maybe also just add to it, I mean, there's a, you know, we take this monitoring and evaluation element quite seriously, and it's, you know, it's a topic that we discuss a lot internally as well, is we don't want to ever present the idea, you know, often YES was sold as very much a short-term incentive. And obviously, as we've built these relationships with partners, but the intent behind YES is this quality work experience. And, you know, we've had instances where, so one of the things you can do with this, the youth data on the phone is tracking the sentiment of a particular cohort. And we have seen we had an instance last year, late 2019, I think, where we'd noticed the sentiment for an entire cohort was incredibly negative. And we had the call center phone the youth, and we said, well, you know, what's happening? Why, you know, what is so bad about your particular work experience? And they'd been told that they need to stay at home and just claim the salary. That's really just part of a quick BEE win. And we ended up addressing it with the company, and they said, oh, we didn't think you'd actually monitor this. These are the kind of things, as much as it's a, you know, there is the feel-good factor about doing youth programs. It's this ongoing monitoring evaluation of the partners that we work with. Farai, who runs our implementation partner program, has got an entire scorecard where each of the partners is measured every single month: compliance with BEE documentation, sentiment of are the youth paid on time, drop-offs. This is something we're starting to take incredibly serious. Well, not starting, we take incredibly seriously, but being able to demonstrate the data around this whole monitoring and evaluation component. So we pick partners that are able to comply to the highest standards of governance when we work with them. And we have removed certain partners where we've had negative working relationships, and we look to bring on and uplift those partners that we're having good working relationships with.
I think that really is an important point. I mean, BEE is ultimately about substance, not form. And I mean, that's the BEE strategy must be based on substance, not form, as well as not a short-term strategy, but medium to long-term. But I think we are running out of time. So unless there's any other pressing questions, I think I'm going to use my chairman's gavel and bang it. But Tash and Mark, thank you very much for this really fascinating and interesting debate, as well as giving information on YES. I think it's really a program that requires much greater advocacy. I think you're doing a fantastic job for our country. And Nozipo, thank you as well for your contribution. Thank you to the delegates. The presentation is available, and I think our contact details are at the back of the presentation if you want to take this offline. Thank you very much. Thank you to Werksmans IT and marketing, and enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe. Thank you, everyone.
If I may say thank you to
Thank you,
Werksmans for.
Yeah, please.
Thanks, Nazifa. I just wanted to say thank you to Werksmans for hosting us on this platform. I think we've been able to show that YES is a program that is not just about BEE levels, but really the sustainable impact, and allowing us the platform to share that is deeply appreciated. And thank you to the Werksmans team and the YES team for making this possible.
Great pleasure. Thank you, everyone.